Hello, my sun rays. Welcome to Soul Living Co.'s A Message to Lightworkers podcast. Soul Living Co. is here to guide and help empaths and intuitives to master their intuitive abilities to discover and fulfill their purpose. On today's episode, we have Sue Hidalgo. Sue Hidalgo has lived 40 or 60?
40. I'm 63 now.
Okay.
I've been doing this since I was 23, maybe a little earlier than that, actually.
Wow. So she's been doing this for 40 years. She has lived as an energy healer and a spiritual reader. She is listed in the book Top 100 Psychics in America, voted in by peers in her field. Sue has taught tens of thousands of people to open up to their own gifts. Sue, that is quite an entry. That's quite an intro right there. Top 100 Psychics in America, and help tens of thousands of people awaken to their gift. Tell me, what brought you to this? How did this happen for you?
Since I was a little person, I would talk to dead people and plants and stones and such. And I kind of put it aside for a while because that wasn't so normal. So I became an egghead for a while and accomplished a lot of mental things in high school. And then one day I started taking a yoga class, and yoga is just so powerful. I was lying there in Sarvangasana, and you're breathing, you're paying attention to your energy flowing in your body. And all of a sudden there's no walls, no ceilings, no floors. They're glowing orbs of light where all the people are. And of course, the brightest one is Hanuman Hana, my yoga teacher, decades ago in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. So I crawled up to her and said, "What have you done to me? I don't do drugs." And she said, "You're seeing auras. And do you know what an aura is?" And I said, "It's the general ambiance of a situation." So she laughed, but she also smiled. And she taught me about energy and how to turn it on and off through meditation. Lucky me to find a teacher who is so wise so early.
Yes. Okay. So you're going to yoga class. And that's actually a funny story because that's how I kind of started my journey too. It was a yoga class for me too. It was the first time I relaxed. But in your particular story, you start seeing auras. You start meditating after this. What happens through meditation for you? What sparks and awakens? What follows that?
Oh gosh, it's such a long story. Being in this for 40 plus years, there are so many stories I could tell you. But I discovered that I knew things about people I shouldn't ought to know, that, my hands were hot whenever I would get around someone sick. My body would get hot if they were really sick. And then I'd touch them or think about them and the heat would leave my body and they'd feel better. So I started out learning what to do about that. And I was very fortunate living in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. It was kind of a metaphysical mecca for a lot of nationally known people. So very early on in my early 20s, I had some fabulous teachers and just love learning from them. In fact, I'm reading a book now. You asked me about books. This was one of my early teachers, Ambika Waters. And I discovered, gosh, some years ago, that she had about a dozen books out. And when I look through them, I go, "Oh yeah, I learned that from her. Oh yeah, I learned that from her. Oh yeah, I've been doing that all these decades." And this is now I'm the gray-haired little old lady with the funny rainbow clothes.
Helping tens of thousands of people. Now I've been to your library. Would you say you learned a lot through reading, or did you learn a lot through mentors? Both? What kind of really?
Both. I read incessantly. As you may know, I read about one book a day. I just love to read. I always have. And I'm very fortunate because I retain it like an elephant and I'm able to synthesize very well. And for a long time, I was very sad because I didn't have enough outer world teachers. There weren't that many books when I started. The books were called the occult section, and it was about this big in the bookstores. And there were no crystal stores. I knew some people who had a little cardboard box of some crystals under their bed. As the years went by, they opened a fabulous crystal shop, one of the best ones I'd ever seen, except for the one in Austin, Texas. Now that's amazing. But I did travel all over the United States for a long time, and in some foreign countries like Bermuda. I spent a lot of time there teaching and working before I moved to Michigan
Mhm.
and married Senor Hidalgo, my husband Danny, who's a wise character in his own right. He's an excellent astrologer.
I need to get him on as our astrologer then.
Oh, good luck with that.
So Sue, at what point did you know that it was your time, that this was your calling? At what moment or what situation did the flick kind of the switch kind of go off and say, this is my path, I need to go full force?
Well, I think there were so many incidences of that. One story I told you some time ago was that I had lost my watch in October in a field where I was teaching. And all winter long, I thought, oh my God, I'd like to be normal and have polka dot curtains and 2 cars in the garage and be married to someone and have kids and grandkids. And here I am doing this weird thing that doesn't fit any role models that I had when I was growing up. So in the springtime, I went down to the field, which was a beautiful place. And I said to God, please take this away. I'd like to just have a normal life, be a bank teller or something normal. I looked all over the field and said, and I sat down and said, thank you, God, that I was not able to find my watch, and put my hand right down on the watch. And it was still running after spending months outdoors in the winter rain and snow. So I knew then that, this was it. There was just going to be no going back, and I might as well pell-mell go into learning and working. And that's what I did. It was not too long after that what was a part-time occupation became full-time.
It was kind of like the message was, it's time.
Yes, get over it. Don't try to think that you must be what you learned in a box.
Yeah, that's big.
Outside the box now.
That's huge. After that moment, were there any other like really memorable, or I guess most memorable events?
There is a funny one. I had a reading from, I traveled several hours to get it, from a very famous lady in Charlotte, North Carolina. And she opened the door and invited me in. She says, I haven't liked you in other lifetimes, and I don't like you now, but you're here for a reading. And she said, one of these days, you're going to learn something about the I Am Presence and the Law of Life books. And I'm going, not knowing what they are at all at that point. And I went home kind of annoyed with my session. And I started having some odd dreams about this beautiful Asian man with long white hair and big blue eyes, spiritual being. And every night for several nights in a row, he would take me to these cities of light where I would see people wearing these ridiculous but lovely clothing and carrying these flames of light around their chest and on their body. And I thought, wow, I'm having these repetitive wild dreams. This is amazing. It happens night after night. Mm-hmm. Less than a month later, a friend comes by for lunch and she brings a box of books. She said, I found these in an abandoned house just outside, Chapel Hill when I was taking a walk in the woods, and I think they belong to you. I still have them on a shelf over there. They're the Law of Life books and the ADK Luck yellow books. And what's in them? These cities of light with these people with these funny soul flames. I'm still working with that. I just started out. Yes, I think I have one of you. I do. I asked you for a picture of you and I made you a soul flame.
Yes.
You're going to get a Christmas gift.
So tell the listeners a little bit more about what the cities of light are. What is it you work with? So they kind of have more of an idea of how deep you can really go into all this.
This idea of the creator making energies in pulses and waves, and that the first wave was God spoke, let there be light. And that's a blue color, like a flame blue, a butane flame blue. And after that comes out the looking at what's been made and loving it. And then after that comes out the really taking it under one's wing and growing it, teaching it. And so these are continuous pulses of creation from the mind. And these cities of light are each one a wave or a pulse of the divine will or power. You and I live on one that has a lot to do with service, as well as, yeah. So we're here, and our sole purpose has a lot to do with serving. We and not just food on the table. We 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 put out to make funny podcasts and teach yoga and teach classes, and we're kind of driven to do that. So each one of these rays has a different kind of psychology, soul psychology. So that's what that's all about. And it's, I love systems. I'm a real systems kind of girl, and I love things that function. If it doesn't work, I'm not so interested in it. It has to be practical. Um, and this is a fairly practical system for understanding what your life purpose is.
Nice. Okay. And so what types of, if you could kind of give a list, because I know you do a ton of stuff. But I mean, there's listeners from like all over practicing all types of stuff. So if you kind of want to name off some of the things that you do or that you work with, so that they can contact you in case, you know, they may have some questions, some further questions on things that they're working with or working on. What are some of the systems that you find are the most helpful or the most expansive for you, or that have been really
Well, I
great?
think that for me, the biggest thing that I did was just being psychic doesn't make you special or wise or a good human being. So I spend a lot of time involved in learning from therapists with all kinds of personal growth work. And I think that was the biggest thing I did, and I'm still doing every day, to take care of me as a person. That involves knowing what's going on in my emotions, the astral layer, emotional layer of the aura, the solar plexus, and knowing what's going on in my thoughts, which is the heart chakra, and that relates to the mental layer of the aura, the causal body or cause and effect, past lives, etc., is the throat chakra. So what really helps me is becoming aware. And yeah, becoming aware and focusing on being a happier human being. That's kind of a byline for me. Sue Hidalgo, the psychic eye, helps people be a happier human.
Yes. Okay. So with that, with being a happy human, what does happy time or free time or even work time look for like to you?
Well, I'm a little bit of a workaholic. I get up in the morning and I start in on, you know, what I'm doing. Right now, I'm involved in 4 or 5 projects at once. One of them is writing a Reiki book for Reiki teachers to teach kids. So I have a background K through 12 in education. And so I'm found a lovely module on a teacher's website. The student does this and the teacher does that. Little did those writers know that someone would be turning that into a metaphysical Reiki course for kids. And so right now I'm obsessed with working on that, and also some artwork. It's Christmas time, so I'm making people soul flames, like I talked about yours in your heart. I'll talk about soul flames for a second. There is a particular angel in Judaism that they say comes along when you're born and puts the light of God into your heart. And they say that it puts its finger right here on you to hush and not tell the secrets that of your soul. They say that there's a little story that God hid your purpose someplace where you could never find it, in here. And that same angel comes along and draws the light out at the time of death. And this light, these flames, there's a central one, which is what you're living out now. There's one on the left side, which is what you have brought into this life. And there's one on the right, which is what's your highest point that you're reaching for. And so I work on that quite a bit lately. Hey, got to catch up with the Christmas orders, as well as the ones I want to do for my friends like you.
Yeah. So it sounds like keeping busy is what keeps you kind of going.
I love it. It's not work, it's joyful. Yeah.
Yeah. I like to call it, it's not my work or something, like it's not my career, it's just my mission. It's just a mission. It's just something I must do, right? It's just
That you love doing it. And you know, my other joy in life is my husband, Danny. We've been married about 25 years now. He called me when I was 39 years old. He called for a reading. He said, I heard we were one of the best psychics in the US. And I'm sitting there on the phone going, um, I'm sorry, sir, I'm going to have to send your money back because we're going to have a relationship. We were married about 6 months later. And I've been closed down everything in my school in Durham, Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina. I moved all the way here to Detroit suburbs to get married to this fellow.
Oh, that's another question. And I know you've already told me this story, but I'm going to ask like publicly, like on the record, because I know a lot of people are so curious about this.
No.
Everybody is obsessed with like finding, not everybody, but a lot of people are really looking for like their soul mates and like their twins and their flames and this and that.
Man, I should write a book on that. Those sell.
Yes, it will sell, it will. But my question to you is because he called and you knew, right? So did you know prior that he
You,
was coming into your life? Because everybody told me the story
I
about this.
did. I did. I'd been looking for him. I knew that he was going to come in May of 1995. Well, that's when we got married. Excuse me, May of 96. And we actually met in October of 95. But I said to the universe, I said, okay, God, sometimes you teach lessons. So I'm going to wait 6 months before I do anything legal, just in case this is the biggest lesson yet. And so we waited 6 months, but we got married. I moved to Michigan right away because you got to find out, from rubbing noses every day how it's going to go. But I think that people have a lot of persons on this planet who are part of their soul group. In fact, I oftentimes tell people that to read a book by Jane Roberts, The Education of Oversoul 7, and her second one, The Further Education of Oversoul 7. They're old books, but they do talk about the idea of an oversoul who divides itself into different little incarnations, some happening in this time frame, some happening in that time frame. But hey, it's an oversoul. They're all happening at once. So it's a very accurate and lively writing about how the oversoul divides up. So it's not just a split apart and there's you and there's the other person. There are a lot of people in our life that we love, and sometimes our soul flame, when I started doing rebirthing breath work, where you re-experience your birth and early life, I had a distinct memory of being held by my father and looking up at him and thinking, there you are again. Oh God, I'm so glad. I love you.
Aww.
And so that was, he's a soul flame, a soul partner, but he's my dad.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's lovely how we find one another again. And the Tibetans call the ones who are troubled precious treasures, because they teach us to go beyond where we are standing in our stuckness. So yes, some of our soul flames are not so much fun. They're precious treasures. Smile.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. I'm really on a Tibetan kick these days. You asked me about books, and I said that I like David Mitchie now, the Dalai Lama's cat, because it's the easiest way to learn deep Buddhist philosophies, because the cat's listening to the Dalai Lama and the cat's taking it in, assimilating it. Such a clever idea.
Yeah, a lot of I've noticed intriguing books are just use characters in that way to make it more fun, make it more relatable and not so serious, but you're still like dissecting and kind of soaking up all that wisdom and knowledge at the same time.
Yes, it's great.
Mhm.
I'm a book hound. I have more books than most metaphysical bookstores.
Yes, like I said, I've been to your library and there's a ton. I was like, wow. A library of knowledge here. I appreciate that though about you. Next question here is, what is one lie that you lived by in the past that you have overcome, or maybe you're still living by it and are attempting to overcome it?
Oh, every day I work on being kind to myself, because one of the first, they're like 10 negative myths that we tell ourselves. And one of them is, one of my favorite ones is, you're not allowed to exist. You're not wanted. I'm the youngest of 7 children. My mom was tired by that time. No money, all those kids. And so it took me for a while until I was in my 20s to learn to be as express. I was quite shy. I know you don't know that knowing me now, but I was very shy. So that was a lie that I lived, that I don't have the right to express myself, or I don't have the right to be. And one of the other ones that people live by a lot is I'm not lovable, or I'm not good enough.
Mhm.
And so those are things that I think all of us work on again and again, being kind. Another Buddhist concept, the Dalai Lama says his only religion is kindness. I'm with him 100% on that. And you
Mhm.
have to work on it all the time to be kind to yourself. It kind of sneaks up.
Mhm. What would you tell a struggling light worker to remember as they are attempting to follow their path?
You know, I just said this to one of my classes last night. I said, um, it's a journey and not the end. So many people aren't happy. We're kind of OCD. One day when I finally become known, or write a book, or get the perfect love, or have this much money, and you know, it's really about right here, right now. And so I talk to them about the kindness of self-love. Yeah, that you're perfect just as you are. You are good enough just as you are. Breathe in, breathe out, relax. This mission that you're looking to fulfill that will finally make you somebody, you are somebody already.
Love that. If you could
And
assign, oh, sorry, were you finished?
no, yeah, you know me, I talk on and on and on. I love to talk.
If you had a finishing little note there, I'd love to hear it.
No, I'm thinking that it's so repetitive what I'm saying, this self-acceptance. Self-acceptance is the bottom line. If you're not accepting, you feel antagonistic towards yourself or toward the world, and that just starts a tumble down process. Um, yeah, going
It,
all the way to morbidity.
mhm. It does. It slows you down. And that's an underlying that. So as I'm doing life coaching now, so that's actually really, and I keep telling everybody it's a common denominator. It's like a common theme. I think that's like just everybody suffers that or goes through that of feeling of I'm not good enough or can I, that self-doubt. And I think not to normalize it, but it is, I think it's kind of normal if you're starting something new or you're just going through life because you don't know what's going to happen in your life. You don't really know. So of course it's going to be that, I think, feeling of, well, I don't know because you don't know.
That's why I like meditation so much, is that it's fairly simple process to be self-reflective, and mindfulness is a little different from meditation, but being mindful and in the moment. If you're going to eat cake, which I just did a minute ago, lemon raspberry buttercream, I was very mindful of what the butter flavor was and the texture of it. And my meditations might involve something focused also mindfully, like breath work. But I also try to get people to meditate to clear their mind so that they can come into the clear light of bliss. And as we get into that bliss, what we're looking for, the higher self, it's always present. It is us. And that also helps us come to a place of peace and happiness.
Perfect. And if you could assign one I am affirmation to everyone on the planet, what would that be?
I am lovable. I am loving. Yeah, that's uh there's an old song that says love is the opening door and love is what we're here for. It's a Beatles song, actually.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Those are all the questions I had for today. Is there anything else you'd like to add to this piece?
I've enjoyed talking to everyone, and I hope they'll check in with me. I do have a YouTube channel, and I have lots of freebies on the YouTube channel. I even have some freebies on my website. One of my favorite ones is about good practices, grounding and centering. And the reason I give that away free is because everybody needs it. So check me out on my website.
Go ahead, Mr. Lip. Go ahead and you can verbalize it now, and then I will also leave Sue's information here in the info box so that you can contact her, visit her website, and also her channel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
www.suehidalgo.com, HIDALGO.com. And friend me on Facebook. I have both a personal and a business page. I don't care which one you friend me on. I'm all the time putting things on there, classes, new things that are popping up that I'm doing. Because like I said, I get up in the morning, I start, and when it gets to about 7 to about 11:30 at night, then I quit. So that's a whole lot of creativity and activity always happening. My husband calls me the Energizer Bunny, but sometimes the Tasmanian Devil, because I'm just really busy, enjoying it. Hey, who knows? I might not come back as a human being again. This is a priceless opportunity.
Use it all the time. Well, thanks
Wow.
again, Sue, for visiting. And listeners, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next time.